I'm Edward October, host of OctoberPod, and you're listening to a special multi-part series by A Nefarious Nightmare called Minding the Beehive. Before we begin, we felt it our responsibility to issue a stern warning. This series serves as a deep dive exploration into the attacks committed by a serial rapist. This will include detailed first-hand accounts from the victims of this assailant. While this series is meant to raise awareness and inspire vigilance, we do understand that such content may trigger painful emotions for certain individuals. Listener discretion is therefore very strongly advised.
A lot of them told me that I was going to walk into a trap. You're going to be catfished. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get yourself killed. And I was like, it's not going to happen. That wouldn't happen. Why would that happen to me? It would never happen to me. You know, you're crazy. Why would you even say something like that? You're going to get yourself thrown into a dungeon. No, I'm not. And that's exactly what I did. I walked right into a trap. I thought when I was going to Arizona that I was going to meet someone who truly had good intentions for me. And that was not even close to what happened. We want women to know that they are not alone, because when I was alone and I felt I was in a very dark time and I had no one, I decided just to go for it.
Last week, we listened to Grace's story, gave you a clip of a near 40-minute phone call with the offender, and gave you most of the victim timeline.
In addition, we discussed narcissism. But this week, we'll be discussing narcissism just a bit more, showing you a reenactment of a text and listening to Kitty's story. With that, I'm Courtney Fenner.
And I'm Amanda Cronin, and A Nefarious Nightmare presents Minding the Beehive, Surviving a Serial Rapist, Part 3. Just when you think it will get better, it doesn't. Throughout the series, you will hear many accounts of assault by the same person, Adrian Vildusea. But the truth is, it doesn't even scratch the surface of what he has done. Today, we will be hearing Kitty's story, one that is truly heartbreaking and anger-inducing.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing her, and she was just amazing. And she was also further proof that the actions of this assailant can cause major trauma. As I was interviewing her, I felt deeply concerned for her, as I did with everyone else, but as she recounted her story, I watched her disassociate and I could just see the trauma. It was obviously very difficult for her to tell her story, and I'm just extremely grateful that she did.
Yes, this is a reminder to everyone involved that what you are doing will potentially save others from having to endure what you did. And as we have said before, all of these stories have similarities, but they also differ. The reactions also differ, but nonetheless. Trauma is trauma, and what happened to each of these women is not okay. It will never be okay.
Circling back to narcissism, many of you may be wondering why we're harping so hard on that.
To explain, narcissism often plays a key role in behaviors such as sexual assault and murder. A narcissist wants to be able to have that control, that power. Narcissists often use coercive control to keep their victims quiet. The moment things go awry for the narcissist, the smear campaign begins. We've mentioned delusions of grandeur as well, which is one of their calling cards. They love to give this show of being something greater than they actually are. Recalling the episode we did about Tony Costa, who often told people he had a super high IQ and was an intellectual. Narcs also identify themselves as super attractive or the best at everything they do. They can never be wrong. They rarely, if ever, take accountability for their actions. The moment a person claims they have been wronged by a narc, the narcissist will snap back instead of apologizing. They will point out what the other person has done to them. This is a deflection tactic used to avoid tarnishing what they perceive is their impeccable reputation.
Have you ever been involved in a conversation with someone that, I don't know, turned into an extremely heated argument? Imagine for a second that you were wronged by somebody, right? You had the guts to go to that person and say that you were wronged. And normally that person would come back and either, I don't know, apologize for their actions or ask for clarification as to what happened. But this time, instead of that, the person comes back and seemingly picks apart every imperfection. Now, here's a scenario. Imagine Amanda and I are coworkers and we're best friends at, I don't know, Google, right? We work at Google. And I got the promotion, but Amanda wanted it, you know? So the conversation would maybe go a little something like this. So we're in the bathroom. I'm looking at my hair. Amanda, acting like the narcissist in this scenario, with a wounded ego due to not getting the promotion she felt that she deserved, makes a comment about my hair. I'd say, "Hey, Amanda, I don't appreciate the way you made fun of my hair, man. That really hurt my feelings."
Well, sorry, but it's ugly as fuck. I'd rather have platinum blonde hair instead of that bright red cheap shit you use. Besides, it makes you look way too sickly. And that trend died back in 1998. You should do what I do, but you won't, because you don't know near as much about style as I do.
But I like my red hair. I'm sorry, but I do. I don't think I should conform to what everyone else thinks anyway.
Jeez, get a grip. You're such a drama queen. Everyone says so. You think you're so cool and pretty, but you obviously need glasses. Look in the fucking mirror. You try so hard to be like me. You never will, though, because honestly, nobody can be as great as I am. Just look in the mirror. Look how bad you are compared to me.
Dude, that's not fair. I mean, I'm sorry if I've ever done something to wrong you in some way. Is this about the promotion that I got? Because I didn't even mean to step on your toes, if that's what you're thinking.
You better be sorry. In fact, you will be sorry. Just wait until everyone knows all the secrets you've told me. Don't ever call me again. You aren't good enough to speak to me. I deserved that promotion. I'm the one who got you this job. Don't think I can't break you because I made you.
And just to clarify, just for further clarification, Amanda isn't really a narcissist. She's actually far from it. That's just one example of what they may do if they were, cornered by their would-be victim.
A narcissist might feel threatened if they see someone they have perceived as weak doing better at something than they do. Jealousy is a huge weakness, although they will never admit it. In fact, a narcissist might say that they never get jealous. They won't ever actually admit to it. In fact, narcissists will rarely admit to any wrongdoing that they've done, nor will they take accountability. Remember that phone call you heard where Adrian kept saying, "No, I'm the victim. I'm the victim here." That's one example. To which I say, well, Adrian, if you're the victim, which you are not, but if you are, then it's quite unfortunate that 40-something women are all victimizing you with the same exact story of you doing what you did to them. As smart and wonderful as you think you are, don't you find it nuts that some 40-plus women are all claiming that you did all of these horrific things to them, yet you're the victim? That's just so bizarre to me.
Oh yeah. And Adrian also kept saying, "She's obsessed with me." Narcissists think everyone is obsessed with them. Another thing that's been mentioned is narcissists, with their delusions of grandeur, will often heavily filter photos on social media to the point that they're not easily recognized in person. And I mean, there's plenty of scenarios why that could be scary. But what I see is it's scary because if they pull it off right, they may be hard to detect in real life in the event that, I don't know, a witness could pick them out of a lineup. Also, to further mention, if any of you have ever have a moment, just read the Waterford Stark series by Greg Olson. Fantastic books, by the way. He describes a fictional serial killer by the name of Brenda Nevins. She is the epitome of a narcissist. It's sad because when you read the book, it seems like over-dramatization, but truthfully, it's a very accurate description. But with that, please take a listen to the following reenactment of a text between Adrian and a Jane Doe.
You're literally a monster. I can't sleep, eat, or think straight without flashing back to how violated you made me feel. I can't look at myself in the mirror without feeling disgust because of you. It's gonna take hard work and a lot of processing to get through what you did to me. But I want you to know all this because I won't retaliate after this. I want these images and words to stay in your brain every night before you go to sleep too. I want you to really know that everything you believe to be true about yourself is actually a fucking lie. You're a fraud, you're a coward, and you're the worst human being I've ever met in my entire life. Please, let this be a lesson to you and never do this again to anyone else.
Hello? I'm here with love and open, loving arms. I have not been doing well either. That must have happened during sex. I'm not a monster. You're in love with me, and I'm in love with you. I need to also step back, as you do, and reevaluate. I'm not here to retaliate either. I left in peace, respected our home, and left without conflict. I'm not being mean and calling you names, which I notice you do when upset. I'm actually a really lovely, amazing human being, and believe me when I tell you that this was a huge eye-opener for me. We both have our faults. I can't eat or sleep either, and it's all killing me very much, only because that last text message I said I worded everything perfectly. You are the most amazing woman I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I love you with my entire heart, and I always will. You know who I am, deep down inside, and the scary thing is you're the only person who truly does. And I'm talking about the Adrian you fell in love with, not whatever the hell this is. I know you're in love with me as much as I am with you. I've given you space and not harassed you, so I'm thankful that you've reached out, because anytime you want to talk, it will have to be you texting first, because I'm fearful of being yelled at or whatever. Just know that I'm hurting just as bad as you are, and I'm not sure I can handle it. I love you, and always will. So please be kind. I have the same bruises too, honey. I've taken the respects to back away, to leave in peace like you wanted. Sorry I didn't have service. I have taken the time to be respectful, reflect on actions, and how to better handle things in life. I'm not perfect, just like you. But again, the scariest part for me is you know who I truly am deep down, because I've never let anyone inside that far. And that's terrifying to me, because you know the soft, kinder spirit. I don't want to be strangers. But you asked me to not contact you, which I've respected. I don't want to be strangers. I'd like to grow and learn from each other, and hopefully we can try this again. I care for you, and I love you more than I ever will with anyone else. You're the home, the life, the heart, and everything.
I don't know anything about you other than you're a fucking sociopath. I got you off to throw me around like a fucking rag doll, spitting on me and degrading me until I broke down. It made you feel good to see that and know you caused it. I fucking witnessed it, and the evil, deranged look in your eyes as you did. You used love as a manipulative tool to get me close to you so you could have that power and control over me. It worked, but only for a second. I'm not a victim. I'm not alone. I'm stronger than you will ever be. Every fear and uncertain feeling you're going through right now, you deserve to feel, and so much more. What a way to treat the most amazing woman you've ever met in your life. You'll never touch me again.
Again, please take a step back before messaging. I can tell you're upset. I'm not alone either, and I'm a very wonderful, amazing person, and you unlocked my heart. So thank you for that. Of course I'll never touch you again. Don't plan on ever being that way ever again. It was scary for me too, but it's okay because it wasn't me, and I know who I am. And I know you're in love with me too. I'm going to take a step back now, but again, I don't think we should be strangers, but I will only text when I hear from you. Can't take certain things, certain looks, certain touches, and the way you look at me. I love you too. I do, and it's okay to step back and reflect. It makes both of us better people. Love you.
No, I don't need to take a step back. I'll be blocking you indefinitely after sending this message. I'm not in love with you, not even close. I certainly could have been, but the universe protected me and showed me very early on that you were nothing but a vile excuse of a person who never ever deserved me. Goodbye, Adrian.
That's all very sad, and you know I live in your heart, Jane Doe. I'm not blocking you, but you know you'll miss me, and you know you are in love with me. Be careful, because I am an amazing, outstanding, wonderful person, and not really liking the way I'm being spoken to, knowing it's a lot for you to deserve me too. I'm not here to fight. Be strangers, but it's all your call. Take a look how you're acting as well. I'm not being mean, but surely it's not okay either. I'm here, and you know how to reach me after you said never contact you again, yet here we are. I love you too, and we both need to heal.
I 1000% should not be doing this, but I can't stand the thought of allowing you to ever believe you broke me. I'm stronger than ever because I'm surrounded and engulfed with love and light, and I finally know everything there is to know about you now. For instance, how sinister you truly are from your core down to the deep depths of a pit where your soul should be. How you have to lie about everything you are just to get a woman to give you some attention. How's that coming along lately? Probably harder now that everyone is finally seeing the truth about the entire fraud that you are, Adrian Steven-Vilducci. I'm here to inform you that you didn't win, and you never will, because no matter how far you travel, you will always take yourself wherever you go. Thankfully, it took me less than 72 hours to see it myself. You are filled with something insanely evil, unlike anything I've ever seen. It's inhuman, actually. You prey on the vulnerable and do not stop until you've caused so much pain, because that is what gets you off. And it's everything that you live for at this point. I pray every day that you can never come close to hurting another living soul, but I know that it's entirely out of my control. What I do know is the ugliness you carry inside you is finally seeping its way out, and it will become harder and harder for you to convince anyone into believing you're anything else but a wolf in sheep's clothing. You are nothing. You are completely alone, and you will spend your entire life looking for a love you will never have, because there is no one on this earth less deserving of it than you. Karma will take care of you, and when that day finally comes, I know you'll see my face and feel every ounce of pain and suffering you put me through.
I will respond accordingly when time permits, and maturely and responsive. After all the ridicule, unresponsive and everything, I have kept my peace to you knowing we have our differences. I still have not once ever made you out to be the bad person, ever. All I want to do is leave you alone, and leave you be for the better aspect of it all. I'm not sleeping with anyone because the act of anything other than you makes me sick. I hope you are the same way too, and I hope to reconnect and make things right. I know you don't want anyone with me as well as me, okay? Okay, I'm staying true and loyal, and I hope you are too.
He then sends a picture with a quote by Ankit Mittal that says, "There will never be anyone else after you. You gave me a little piece of forever. Forever doesn't seem long enough with you." And that's really telling as the narcissism that's showing through this text.
Everything I've ever said to you is true, with depth in all of me. You're the only woman that has access to me, and I mean that. How deeply I wish you could see and feel it. All I want is us again. I've given you your respects and left you alone, but nights without you doesn't feel the same. I love you. You're the only woman I'll ever love, and I miss you entirely. I always will.
God, this just keeps getting worse and worse. I truly hope by the end of this series, he is arrested and taken off the streets to never, ever do this again to anyone. Anyway, the following is Kitty's story. We further advise you to brace yourselves as this is a rough one.
Also, just a brief heads up. Remote recording isn't always our friend, so we truly apologize if the audio quality of this story is questionable. I tried. I really tried. But anyway, without further ado, here's Kitty.
My name is Kitty. I am 32. I was 31 October 2nd is when this all started. This took place in Arizona. It started in Arizona. Originally, I had met him online, Facebook and Instagram. It was just small talk at first for a few months on and off. And then it just went from there. Online was it was interesting because you would see nothing but peace, love, and very respectful, very inspirational posts, that people just admire. I think that is what caught my attention, was all of the posts that can make you look like you are a good person. Posts about healthy relationships, posts about treating women right, being in a relationship and having it be equal, lots of free loving spirit posts, posts about loving animals. I was in a relationship with the same person for 12 years before this, and I never really understood like love bombing, and I didn't really get it, and I had been warned afterwards about this can happen, and I kind of just brushed it off. But I definitely learned what love bombing was with Adrian, and manipulation, gaslighting is all at least fairly new in my mind. It is. Thanks. I don't really remember when he came on my Facebook and Instagram, and I can't tell you like how he found me. I mean, I remember around February of 2021, he was on my page, and I would just like his posts here and there, and he would sometimes like my stuff. And then I reached out to him in August of 2021, and that's kind of like when I really started talking to him. And I reached out to him because he would post all this happy stuff, and then he would post random, like really sad posts. And I was like, this person's probably depressed, and I'm depressed. So it's kind of where that went, The end of August is when we really started talking. And I flew out to Arizona October 2nd of 2021. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever forget that memory and the way I felt that day. When I drove up, my heart definitely fell to the bottom of my chest. And I felt, I don't know, it just didn't feel right. He was not who he said he was. And it's crazy because I had multiple conversations with him. He sent me pictures and videos every day. And I think it's to the point where someone heavily filters themselves to look like something when they're actually not at all. And during this time, I had figured out what he did. He uses his Snapchat to take pictures, and then or videos or whatever he wants, and he'll download them into another app and then heavily filter those to make you look not even like who you're looking at, which is crazy to me. It is. And I mean, I didn't think that I would ever walk into a situation like this, but I did. I walked right into it. I saw quite a few, but I looked past that for some reason when I shouldn't have. Everyone is depressed and everyone goes through a hard time, but I think the first red flag was him asking me for money for booze, and me being like, well, you're obviously in a hard spot, so I'll do that. I'll buy you beer. I'll buy you wine. He liked wine. That happened twice to begin with. And I think that just spiraled out of control afterwards, because I bought him lots of alcohol and lots of food. And I try as a person to always see like the best in people and understand their situation. And I don't know, I was stuck on doing research and on what he was telling me and wondering if I really believed him. So, I mean, he told me multiple things, First red flag on that would be that he used to be in the band Bless the Fall, which I had obviously researched, and I could never find anything on him. And that made me, but I mean, we would talk on the phone quite a bit, and he would just have these stories, these extravagant stories. And you want to like believe that, people are honest and don't judge, but I mean, for every question I had, he always had an answer. Well, this is why, this is like this, and this is what happened. And I mean, it was very convenient for everything. He always had something to say for every question I had. You know, he made me believe that he was a professional gamer, which, you know, nowadays that's a thing. There are people out there who professionally game and they make money. And, you know, I mean, usually if you're doing that, you have another job, so you're making money also. But, you know, in his world, it was, you know, I'm a professional gamer and I make chunks of money here and there and I do what I want and I write music and, you know, all the love bombing and gaslighting. I mean, there's so many. The promises. I mean, you know, first of all, I started dating him and that was really awkward and weird for me because it was so random. You know, he called me one day and he was like, we should date. And I was like, you know, I've never even met you. That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Like, people don't do that. It's weird. And he was like, and then, you know, and that's where the gaslighting begins. Well, it's not weird. People do it all the time. Like, what are you talking about? This is normal. Like, this is what people do. I can't believe that you would think it's weird. And that was like the first gaslighting. I mean, you know, and I'm so vulnerable at that point. You know, I had been with the same person who I thought I was going to marry for 12 years. So I'm like, man, maybe this is normal. Maybe I am crazy. Maybe this is, you know, something people do now, to start dating without even knowing them, you know? So at that point, I'm thinking in my head, well, you're obviously don't know what you're talking about because this is normal, you know, and you get pushed into a situation. And there was no time for anything. Like, this was a 1 hour phone call. And it was either this is going to happen or this is not going to happen. And I'm going to stop talking to you. Because if you want to take anything further with me, this is how it has to be. Like, I'm not going to dedicate myself and my time to you if we're not going to date. And so, you know, of course, in the end, I was like, I guess, sure, like, we'll do this, you know. And did it feel awkward and did it feel weird? Of course. I was like, I've never heard of people just dating people without even meeting them. Let's go to the first day that I arrived in Arizona. So I bought a plane ticket and I bought him a plane ticket to come back with me to Washington. That was the goal. It was, in his world, he's taking a break from writing music because he's going to release an album. I just go along with it because you can't really say anything until you see proof, you know? And that's how it was for me. I was, you know, he's saying all these things and I was like, well, I'm just going to get there and he's going to show me all this proof, you know, because he's not going to just sit there and lie about stuff like this. Like, he obviously has the resources to back everything up. So he was like, I need a vacation. I would like you to come down to Arizona and you can stay with me for a few days and we can like hang out and really get to know each other. And then I can come back to Washington with you for a little bit to kind of just take a hiatus and just hang out with you and see if we can like really do this. And I was like, that's fine. He was like, you know, buy me a ticket and I'll pay you back. Okay, no big deal. And so I did. I had a ticket to go there from October 2nd to October 6th. And then he would fly back with me on the 6th to Washington. And he tried to convince me to not get a car. You don't have to get a car. You can just take an Uber to my house and you'll be fine. We won't have to do anything. You won't have to go anywhere. If we need to go anywhere, we can just take an Uber. Because he can't drive in the state of Arizona because he got a DUI. And so he tried to basically gaslight me into not getting my own vehicle so I could get out of any type of situation that I need to, which that was the whole goal. I was like, no one's going to be driving for me. I'm a very independent. I don't need someone driving me. I can drive myself. So I did get a car. And he talked to me the whole way. You know, when I got off the plane, he talked to me while I drove to his house. And so before I drove to his house, I stopped at the Circle K because he wanted booze. Can you stop and grab me a bottle of whatever? I don't care what you get me, just whatever. And so I got him a fifth of Captain Morgan. And when I arrived at his apartment, I parked on the wrong side. And he said, well, I'm outside. Do you see me? And I didn't see him. And he was like, I turned around and looked behind me, and I had seen him like down the way. And so I drove over there, and I pulled up, and he was waiting outside for me, and he was smiling, and my heart sank to the bottom of my chest. And I told myself, that is not who you signed up to see. And I kind of just sat there, and I feel like it was very slow motion because I was just taken back, and he kind of just stared at me, and I just smiled, and I didn't really know what to do, but I didn't want to be that person to judge, you know, and just jump the gun. But my gut was telling me that something was wrong, but my head was like, don't be that person. And so I didn't. So I got out, and he insisted that I take my bags in. And I was like, no, it's fine. We can grab them later. But no, he insisted. He was like, oh no, I'm carrying your stuff in. And so what do you say at that point? You know, you argue with someone you don't even know that, but you're supposed to be dating, you know? So I let him bring my stuff in. And he told me that we could just chill and relax and talk and listen to music and get to know each other. And that's kind of where I was like, I'm going to just sit back and observe and just kind of take everything in so I can really understand like what's really going to happen and what's really going to go down. And that's when I really saw like what type of person he was going to become with that bottle of booze. Adrian Esteban is how I first came into contact with him. It was Adrian and then Esteban. To my knowledge, I think the farthest back we've found one of our victims, I can't say a name to it, but I believe it would be 2007 is what I can recall. I think I want to start off with Holly because this is how this has all started. So, and everyone is so amazing, and I can't believe that we've found this many. You know, all these girls have done such hard work and such amazing things. And, you know, I've just sat back and watched all of this explode. Everyone's quite amazing for everything they've done. But, you know, this started when I reached out to Holly, and, you know, everything happened to me, and I was silent I'm still silent. You know, I haven't really told anyone what's happened with me. Holly knows. Everything happened with me. And then I watched him start dating her through someone else's Instagram. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that he was never going to come back to me because he said he was going to. So I had to make sure he was never going to come back. And he started dating Holly. And one day I watched her take his name off her Instagram, and I knew, you know, that something happened. And, you know, I think that's my biggest thing with Holly is, you know, I do feel guilt because I could have stopped. I could have tried, you know, and I didn't. I was too scared. And even when I messaged her, I was too scared to message her. You know, I messaged her, January is when I messaged her. And it was because I was on a phone call with my friend, and my friend was like, you have been suffering in silence, and you know that something is happening. So you need to do something. So I messaged her on Instagram, and I said, hey, my name is Kitty, and I'm Adrian's ex. And she said, holy shit. And I said, you know, are you okay? And she was like, you know, he assaulted and raped me. This is what's happening. And I said, can we talk? And she called me right away. She video chatted me. We had a 4-hour conversation. And, you know, we told each other our stories, and we cried and we talked. And she said, you know, I can't believe you reached out when you did. And I told her, I said, you know, my gut just told me to do it. And we had a conversation, and we both agreed that we had to find people. You know, we couldn't be the only one, you know. So she started networking. I kind of just sat back, and, you know, she started networking. And then they created the Beehive, and then we started adding people in, and it kind of just blew up from there, you know. It started with just a few people. It was her and some of her close friends, and I got added in. It started off with just us 3 girls, and then we found all of the other ladies, and it's just spiraled from there. I mean, the work that has been done and the progress that has been made. Like, a lot of these girls have put in a lot of work, and it's amazing to see all these women come together and, you know, everyone's done such a hard job. I'm not the best with interacting. I've kind of just sat back and watched us grow. And, you know, it's really still hard to talk about everything that's happened with me. So, you know, I told my story for the second time just recently. You know, I haven't even been able to share my story with any of the girls that are in that chat because it's so hard for me. But I mean, it's filled with a bunch of beautiful women who are inspiring, who, you know, want justice for, you know, the victims that we have and anyone else. You know, it's about coming together and making a change. It is. We're saving women in the future, and we've saved women from intentionally being assaulted by him. Yeah, I couldn't be more thankful, honestly. It's about saving women, you know, and that's what we're trying to do. The first night that I was there, it started off decently normal, and I watched him chug a whole fifth of Captain Morgan's. And I sat back and just watched him progressively just get more drunk and more drunk. And we sat outside most of the time on his porch and listening to music. And I kind of just sat back and, you know, rethought everything. You know, when I had first pulled up, something just didn't feel right, but I just couldn't understand, like, what it could be. I mean, obviously I knew that he didn't look exactly how he said he did and what I had seen. I mean, even in the videos, in the video calls, you know, he still looked, I don't know how he changed his camera on his video calls. That still, like, trips me out, is how did he do that? Is there a way that I can change the way I look and I just don't know it? You know, I don't even know. I think that's the craziest part, is the video chats. He looked different. It's very. And so I've dealt with, you know, I'm a mother, so I deal with people who drink, and my ex was an alcoholic. So I guess for me, that's just normal to see people like that. You know, it doesn't really cross my mind that it's not normal for people to drink like that. I mean, my ex never got like that at all. He just, you know, had a drinking problem. But we sat outside for the longest time. And then I think my mistake was he asked me if I wanted to go to his bedroom and we could, like, cuddle and watch TV and, you know. And of course you say, sure, you know, can't be that bad. And, you know, it was bad. I remember him wanting me to give him head. And I was very uncomfortable. And I didn't want to. But, I mean, what do you do in that moment? You know, you're in that moment. And this is supposed to be your boyfriend, you know. So, you know, of course that happens. But then it just got weird. You know, he made me take off all my clothes. And he took my clothes away from me. You know, I still had my phone, but my phone was underneath the pillow of his bed because he just started acting really strange, like controlling and aggressive. I remember I felt like I was losing control because, I mean, it went from normal to, you know, I think what happened was, if I can remember right, I told him that I was uncomfortable. And I think that's when he snapped. And, you know, that whole thing is kind of a blur, but I think going into his bedroom is where he trapped me. And he took away my clothes. And, I mean, I was naked. I had a thong on, I had no bra, and I was in his bedroom, and I was there, and I couldn't get dressed. I mean, and this went on for hours, you know, of me being locked in his house. And then, you know, at one point, you know, after I tried to get dressed multiple times, I didn't want to look like I was going to get on my phone to do anything because I was already in a state of panic because he had this really crazy look in his eyes. And I didn't want to, like, make him think that I would call the cops or, you know, I didn't want to do anything that would ignite him even more than he already was. Because at that point, it had been hours that he had trapped me in his room. and I wasn't allowed to have my clothes, and he took away my suitcase. And I said I needed water, and I had walked out to his kitchen, and I didn't have my phone on me. It was still in the bedroom, tucked away. And I told him, that it was fucking crazy. He wouldn't let me have my stuff, and that I was going to leave. And that was the first time he choked me. And he choked me in his living room. And it wasn't like a grab you with one hand, kind of like grab you and pull you type of thing. It was, I'm going to grab you by your throat with both of my hands and grip them around your neck and push my fingers into your throat as hard as I can while staring you directly into the eye. Like, I'm going to choke you until you pass out, which he almost did. I was grabbing him while he was doing that. And, I think in my brain at that time, what ran through my head was, you are never going to see your animals again. And my animals are everything to me, So that was really scary for me. And that went on and that happened, this lasted, when this started, the sun was, by the time I was able to finally get out of there, it was, almost 2 a.m. And it took a lot for me to leave, like multiple attempts. Him grabbing my phone, him ripping it from my hands, me desperately getting it back from him, having to convince him over and over that, when someone is attacking you like that, you have to convince them that you're on their side and everything's going to be okay and don't be crazy and we're going to get through this, It's like a fight or flight sort of deal. It's really hard to remember everything just because I was in fight or flight and, what are you going to do to satisfy him so he doesn't kill you? And I attempted to leave multiple times, but he would lay down behind my car. I would unlock the doors and he would get in the back seat. I would get out of the car and he would get out and I would get back in and he would hold the door open. And people are outside and they see what's going on. They see me struggling and they don't do anything. They walk away. I know people could hear me when I was outside because I was loud. I'm not a quiet person, and I was telling him, you need to leave me alone and you need to let me go. And he had a weird neighbor, this guy, and I had heard this guy before in the past while talking to him on the phone. This guy referred to me as Mission Washington. That was my name to him. And I'd be like, what is he talking about? Why does he call me that? And Adrian would be like, just don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. He's just crazy. But he watched plenty of things happen. He saw what was going on that night and he turned his back. It's because he knows Adrian very well. You could tell. I'm sure he's seen this before. And what are you going to do? You're just going to turn your back and walk away when you know that person needs help, I don't know why I didn't call the cops, but that's how I got out. I finally was able to grab my phone in front of him without him trying to rip it out of my hands after hours of confrontation. And I dialed 911 and I showed it to him. And I said, if you don't fucking leave me alone, I will call the police. And I was like, I don't want to have to do that to someone, even though he just put me through all this crazy shit. Here I am in my head, don't do this to someone, even though he just did all the stuff he do. But that's how I got out of there. And, I got out of there and I got a hotel. And he was like, this is all a big mistake. This is all a big misunderstanding. Let me come to the hotel with you. Let me be with you. Don't leave. Just think about it. We can work this out. And I'm like, no, I'm done. You are crazy. I want nothing to do with you. I'm done. But that was just the first night. You would think that, you would never go back, right? You would think that. Yeah, well, after that, I spent the next few days just doing my own thing. I went to Tombstone and then I drove all the way to Camp Verde and I stayed there for a few days and I did my own thing. And he, in the end convinced me that it was just a big misunderstanding and I scared myself. That was the real one right there. I know I scared you, but I scared myself. I can never do this again. I can't believe I acted like that. So he love bombed me and he gaslit me into making me think that, you know, it was just a big misconception. And, you know, we both made unsavory choices. We both did things that we probably regret now that we shouldn't have. We both did things that caused us harm. That's gaslighting. And I was so naive. Like I said, like I didn't understand what gaslighting was. And I didn't, you know, I've been through situations where people have done this to me before, but it wasn't as severe. So I guess I never noticed it until I had met Adrian, you know. So at that point you're like, you know, I am wrong. I did cause this. It's normal. Like, you know, he just made a mistake. Like it's not a big deal. When really, in all actuality, it's a huge deal. I mean, he could have killed me that night. You know, if he would have kept choking me, he would have killed me. And now that I'm like in the position I am now, you know, I see that. And that's scary, you know. That's scary to be in that headspace in your mind while someone is choking you and you can only think about like you fucked up. You're never going to see the people you love ever again. And everything flashes in your mind, you know, everything and every person you've ever loved and every memory that you've ever had with someone who you shares with just flashes through your mind, you know, in that moment. And then you're gaslit to the point where you really think that this is just normal what happened. And it's not that big of a deal. You're overreacting, definitely. When I wasn't overreacting, and it's not normal, you know, but that's what happens when you're in a vulnerable spot. You don't think right. This was 2 days before we were supposed to leave. I went back, and like, here's the deal. Like, if he didn't drink, it was normal. He was normal. It was weird. So when I got back, it was late at night, and he met me outside, and he was like, "Hey, just come inside." And he like was like, "We're just gonna watch movies and go to sleep." You know, it was like, "I'm gonna respect you. I'm gonna leave you alone and do whatever you want. Doors open." You know, very relaxed, very calm. And I just watched movies with him, and it was normal. So in my head, I was like, I was wrong. He's normal. You know, can't be that bad. And then the next day, it was normal until he started drinking. And then it was the same thing all over again, except here I am, you know, a day before we're supposed to fly out to Washington. And at first, I think everything's normal. But then I noticed, you know, and I told him, I said, apparently you have a drinking problem and you need to like control it. And it was, well, everyone has addictions, you know. I mean, you have addictions. Look at yourself. You need to get your addiction control. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything, you know. And I don't have any addictions to worry about right now, you know. But don't worry, I'm going to get it taken care of. And I'm not going to get out of control. Like, and I went around Arizona with him that day. And he was like, I want to show you, like, all of the old places I went to and all of the old places I lived at, which is really creepy because he took me to his last apartment and I had found out some like really unsavory things that he had did in those apartments, you know, with girls and neighbors. And basically you want to go back to this place where you did these horrible things to these women and you just want to like bring up memories, which I'm so naive and I don't even know. You know, I didn't find this out till way later, until we started getting all these girls and they started talking about his old apartment. And I was like, oh, that apartment he made me drive to, that's the place. That's the apartment I seen, you know. So it's basically the trophy house. Yeah. And, you know, so I think that day just escalated and it was normal at first. And then he started drinking and he had these little bottles of like 99 proof and he just was taking shots of those and going around to the bars that he liked to frequent, which, I mean, it was right downtown. I don't really think he frequented that a lot. And he had all these memories he wanted to like tell me about. And who knows like what's actually true and what's not, because, you know, a lot of his stories were very animated to the point where you know, what do you really believe? You know, you're just going to go with what's being said. But I mean, that led into, you know, the same situation as the first night. is what happened. It was just a repeat of the first night. By the end of that night, it was just a repeat of the first night. And that was leading into, you know, us getting on a plane together. And I couldn't leave. You know, we had gone out, we had gotten him a suitcase, he had acted crazy. I was in his house and he was going to go to Washington with me. And I was too afraid to say no and to stop him. And I mean, he woke up the next morning and he got on that plane with me. And I always remember sitting there on the plane, you know, telling myself this is the stupidest situation I've ever been in. And I've had this guy abuse me multiple times, choke me to the point where I was blacking out. And he's on a plane with me going back to Washington to where I live. And I was too scared to say anything or do anything. And in between all of this, there's, you know, love bombing and gaslighting and all of this shit that just makes you wonder if you even know what's really going on. But it's just crazy to me. And so he did. He flew to Washington with me. I'm pretty sure he was hungover. And I mean, it was a done deal. Like, I didn't know what to do. But I knew I wanted to get away from him, but I didn't know how. But I didn't know what to do, you know. He was going with me, and I felt like I was trapped. And I could have easily walked away, but I didn't, because I felt so trapped in this situation. I don't know. I feel like you'd have to be caught in that moment, in that situation, to fully understand like where you're at. Because anyone could just walk away, but I didn't feel like I could just. I didn't feel like I could just press a button and have them take him. It wasn't easy. He wasn't there very long. He survived in my house. We got there on the 6th of October, and I put him on a bus to leave me on October 15th. So he stayed at my house from the 6th till the 14th, I believe. And you know, it was strange because he was like, you know, I want to try and see if I can find work out here. And I want to try to do this, and we can like try to get something started. And I was just like, you know, in my head, like working on an exit plan to get him away, because I did not feel like he was a healthy person, you know, especially with what he put me through. Like, it just wasn't healthy. So I don't know if he was getting booze from someone else, because like he had no money, obviously. And I'm the person who's buying this. I mean, at this point, I had spent so much money on booze and food and a plane ticket. I had spent altogether thousands, you know. So, and it's just weird. I think alcohol really affects people in certain ways, because, you know, if this dude was not drinking, he seemed like a normal person, you know. I think that maybe he has some deep-rooted anger issues that make him how he is. Yes. So I have a cat, Kuma, long hair Persian, and he really liked my cat, and he started posting pictures of my cat on the social media, which, by the way, I had never thought like my cat would get so many likes and views and comments. I mean, this cat had, you know, one picture was 600 and something hearts. Like what in the heck? This cat is famous. Like, so he liked my cat, and he liked my dogs, at least I thought. But I think like one thing is what I noticed is he did not like how much I loved my dogs, because I love my dog. My dogs are my life. You know, I went through a very serious breakup, and my dogs were, you know, there for me. I have my dog's name tattooed on my knuckles. My dog, Bug Rug, I have his name tattooed on my knuckles. He is, you know, they are the reason that I don't think I would have made it through that struggle if I didn't have them. So I don't think how much I love my animals. I think that really bothered him, because he started making really weird remarks about me and my obsession with my animals. And no one should be that obsessed with their animals, and you have serious problem to love your animals that much. No one should love their animals that much. And that was really weird for me to hear, because of all of the posts that he had put out there about loving animals and being carefree and, you know, don't abuse animals and all this stuff. You know, it was really weird to hear someone say that. Like, how can you tell someone you love your image? How can you say that? And that's, yeah. So that's what started happening. So I'm working, and then on my days off, I'm like, well, let's just try to like go do things to see if, you know, we can like try to have some normalcy here, because this is not normal, you know. And in my head, I'm panicked the whole time, you know, and I'm on high alert, and I'm secretly messaging my friends, like trying to figure out what I can do, you know, like I'm talking to them when I can, like, is this normal? This doesn't seem normal to me. And, you know, my girlfriend's like, this is not normal. Like, he's fucking crazy. You can be careful. Like, this is not, you cannot fix this person. And what he's doing to you is, it's just not normal. You know, it's not. And I, you know, I was going to work with bruises because he was like grabbing me physically. And people were noticing. They're like, you know, why do you have bruises on your shoulders? You know, of him grabbing me. And I would be like, fine, like, this is normal. And they're like, this is not normal. And so I just got to a point, you know, so all this time passes, you know, I mean, at that point, I'm like really starting to get depressed because I just don't know what to do. This guy is making me think I'm crazy when he's the crazy one, you know. And I believe it was a Wednesday. It was a Wednesday. And he starts telling me that you love Bug Rug too much, and I hope he dies. So you understand what it's like to lose something you love. And because I'm worried for you, I'm scared for you. Because when your dog dies, you're going to lose it. And I'm going to have to be the one that has to deal with that. You're going to lose yourself. And I can't deal with something like that. So you need to understand what it's like for something you love to die. And your dog Bug Rug needs, I should just kill Bug Rug. He said I should just kill Bug Rug. No. He said, so I should kill Bug. And so, you know, that was like weird for me. And then I'm at work, and I think it's crazy because he starts talking about killing my dog, and I didn't do any. I just left, you know. I just left. None of my dishes were done. I didn't finish doing my pill. Like, I didn't do anything, and I don't remember not doing anything. I think I was so scared and so caught up in the moment that it was fight or flight, you know. So I left, and he was freaking out, you know, and I was like, he must be fucking drunk. And it's really weird to me because I didn't buy him any booze. And I don't know how he did. To this day, I still don't know how. I think he got something from the neighbors, you know. And so I fly home, and, you know, I walk in, and he's laying down in my bed, which he aggressively calls our bed, you know. And everything was ours. It wasn't mine, because that was my house. It was my house. It was my bed. It was my animals. But to him, it was ours. Everything was ours. It's our bed. That's our house. And so I went home that night, and I walked in my house, and I said, you know, what the fuck is your problem? Who do you think you are, talking about fucking killing my dog and that my dog should die? Like, who are you? What type of person says shit like that? And then it was, well, you know, how are you going to come into our house and talk to me like this? And then that's where it, you know, progressively got worse. And he was like, you can't come in here and be aggressive towards me. And I said, I'm at work. You're talking about killing my animals. Like, it's pretty fucking serious, you know? So I was like, I'm going to take the dogs out. And I like said that out loud. And I was like, come on, boys. And he said, yeah, you should take them out before I fucking kill them. And that's where I was just, you know, I couldn't. It's fucking crazy. And obviously he was drunk. I don't know how he got drunk, but he was drunk. And he had been drinking, because he turns into this crazy, you know, monster when he drinks. He is a monster. And so at that point, I said I was going to take my dogs out, and I said, let's go. And he replied with, yeah, you should probably take them before I fucking kill them. And so I went downstairs, and I called my best friend, and we have safe words. Mine is pineapple. I send that to you. You need to be there. And I called her, and she already knew stuff was going on. So she was high alert, you know. And I said, he's talking about killing my animals, and I don't know what to do. I said, if I send you my safe word, you need to come as soon as possible. And she said, do I need other people to come? And I said, you can. I said, but you need to have them meet you. You need to get here as fast as you can. And you need to call them on the way and tell them to meet me at my house because I don't know what's going to happen, you know. So I took my dogs out and I remember walking back upstairs, and he really hard for me to remember everything that happened because I was so fucking upset that night. But he started going off and saying crazy shit and talking about, you know, killing my animals. And, you know, I remember him looking at me at one point and saying, you know, what you don't understand is I've had plenty of time to kill them already. And if I really wanted to kill them, I could kill them. Not in my head, you know, he's telling me all that. You know, the real crazy Adrian is definitely showing. You know, all those love animal coasts and don't abuse animals is just out the window at that point. If you could freely talk about killing my animals to my face, when you know how much I love them, you know. And then he just kept going with it. And I looked at him and I said, you know, I've been waiting for this moment, and this is the moment where I have to stop you. Like, you can't be here, and you're gonna have to leave. And he was like, I'm not going anywhere. And I said, no, you're gonna go somewhere, and it's not gonna be here. And he just had this crazy look in his eyes, like he, you know, was gonna hurt me or my animals. And he kept looking at my animals and laughing, you know, and that was really awkward for me. But at this point, I had already messaged my friend, my safe word, so she could be there. And she was there so fast, you know, she was there within 4 minutes, you know. And she came in, and we were actually outside at that point because he wanted to have a cigarette, and I had to go with him, you know. I told him no, he didn't want me to lock him out is what it was. So he made me go out. He made me go out with him. He was like, you're going to go out with him. I'm like, okay, fine. So I went out there, and she met us outside, and, you know, and I had let him know, like, I have someone who will come over and physically remove you. And he was like, I'm not scared of anyone. And I said, we'll see when they get here, because if they have to physically remove you, they will physically remove you. And if we have to put you in a car physically and take you somewhere, we're going to, because we're going to get rid of you. We're going to take you to the airport. Because I told him straight up, you know, I'm taking you to the airport. Like, I'll drop you off, but you're not going to stay here. And so at that point it was, you know, trying to talk sense into a drunk person. And it just, you know, we sat there for hours. I mean, my friend was so tired, and he just manipulated us, you know. This is my house with her. You have no say in this. This is not your house. You shouldn't even be here. You are an addict. I know you're an addict. I worked at a rehab. So there's no way that you guys can tell me anything, because you guys are addicts yourself, and I'm not going to listen to you. As he's drunk off his ass. I'm sober. Like, I'm allergic to alcohol. I can't drink. I can't smoke weed or anything like that. Like, I'm sober, you know. So you can't tell me I'm an addict. You know, I've beat my addictions. It was just a bunch of gaslighting that night, and we just tried to understand, you know, and talk sense into him as to why anyone would do what they do and say what they say. Like, what in your right mind would you think it's okay to talk about killing someone's animals? Like, how is that normal? That's not normal, you know? I mean, and this went on for hours, you know. It was really, really, and at that point I didn't know what to do, you know. So he wasn't going to let us take him to the airport, you know. And we decided to not have someone else come over and help us do it. You know, we were going to figure out what to do, but it wasn't going to be that night, you know. It just wasn't going to be that, because he was, you know, and I didn't want the police involved. I don't know why, but I just didn't. In my eyes, I didn't want to ruin someone's life, you know, with the police, because that could just be like whole thing, even though it probably could have helped me. Honestly, that's what they're there for, to protect and help you. It is. So, you know, my friend was tired and I was tired. Obviously, I wasn't sleeping. So, you know, I told her, take my dogs. You need to take my dogs. And he laughed. You know, why would you have someone come over and take your dogs? Well, because you're talking about killing my animals. You know, and that's a big deal to me. Like, what if he would have done that, while I was gone? I was already, and he didn't like that I had people coming and checking up on my house while he was there. He didn't like that at all, but what do you do when you feel that uncomfortable? That's just not normal. So I had her take my dogs that night, and, he was going to go, and I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew I wasn't sleeping that night. And, she took the dogs and she left. And I told him, I said, you need to just fucking go to sleep, And the fighting went on forever. And it wasn't, me, it was him. He just wouldn't leave me alone, was going off the deep end. And, at one point I was like, I'm going to take a shower. And I got in the shower, and I remember being in the shower, and I remember him ripping the curtains open and him yelling in my face, you're going to fucking talk to me about what's going on, And I was like, I'm just trying to relax. Like, it's been a crazy night and I just want to take a shower. And he wouldn't let me. And, he ripped me out of that shower by my hair, completely. Of course I'm naked, He ripped me out of the shower. And I remember, falling to the ground, and he dragged me out of my bathroom by my hair, and he's on my bed, and he choked me. He proceeded to choke me, and then he proceeded to rape me. There's nothing I could really do about it. Just what happened. And he fell asleep, and I stayed awake. And I probably ended up falling asleep at some point, because I remember waking up in the corner of my bed, and he was on his phone typing, and he like noticed I was waking up, and he tried to cuddle me, and I was just like, get the fuck away from me. I can't, you need to leave, and then it started. He was like, I can't believe you're doing this. Look at the way you're acting. Just the whole mind fuck again, like he did every single time. And I just had enough, So he wanted me to take him to the store to get cigarettes. And I was like, we're not doing this. No, if you want cigarettes, you can go. And he was like, well, I need money. Like, I don't give a fuck what you need. I'm not giving you money, which, I had to give him money because I had to get him out. So I gave him a jar full of change with some dollar bills, mostly just change. And I said, you can take this jar and you can walk your ass down to the fucking store and go buy yourself some cigarettes. And basically, so I got out of there. I got him out of there. And it was time to act. I had to do something. So I grabbed his suitcase as fast as I could, and I called my landlord, and I said, you need to get your dad over here, and you need him to watch what's going on to make sure everything's okay. I have to get him out. I'm packing his stuff right now. And she was like, you need to call the cops. No, I said, I don't want the cops involved. I just want him gone. And she was like, okay, well, he's on his way. So he sat down there and he watched everything happen. And I don't know if he got paranoid about what I was doing, but he did not go to the store. He walked halfway there and told me he was having a panic attack and almost had to call 911 because he was having such bad anxiety that he turned around and came back, and he went to my neighbor's house and convinced her to give him a pack of cigarettes. And he had been going over and seeing her a lot and like wrapping her around his finger and, he looked like the good guy to everyone, and everyone wanted, to talk to him and be his friend, and to all these older people, and he just wasn't. And I threw his stuff outside, and I told him straight up, you're not fucking coming back in my house, like not at all, And it took all day, but like he told me he was going to come back, and I should have just dropped him off at the airport. I should have just took him in my car and just dropped him off at the airport. I should have just done that. But he was refusing to go. But, I knew he wouldn't remember where I lived because at one point he had gaslit me into taking him to get a new phone because he had money to get a new phone, which he didn't. He had money to put a new phone on his plan, and I'm the one that had to pay it in the end, and I'll pay you back. But I know that mostly all of our stuff got deleted because he didn't upload his phone to his to cloud, so nothing was saved. So he didn't have my address, So, but I didn't think about that until way later. I could have easily dropped him off. He would have never found my house again. But he kept telling me he was going to come back. I'm going to come back. So my only option was, to get him a hotel because he wasn't coming back to my house. He wasn't taking a plane anywhere. He had other people he was going to go see, you know. So in the end, he worked it out to where he was going to go to Spokane. And I knew where he was going the whole time. I just knew it because of likes and comments and follows. And my gut feeling told me it was this one person. And it was that one person. He went to that exact girl who I knew he was going to go see. But, you know, I was able to get him a bus ticket to make sure he was going to leave. Like, I just didn't want to drop him off anywhere because I didn't want him to come back. You know, I had to make sure. I was so sick of spending my money on this asshole, but I had to make sure that he was going to leave and not come back. So I had to buy him a way out. And when I dropped him off at the hotel and I had to sign paperwork, they knew something was going on because the guy looked at me and he was like, "This is $250 deposit." And then he was like, "I need your ID." And he took his ID and he looked at his ID and he looked up at me and he said, "Well, since he's from out of state, how about we do a $50 fee?" Because he knew something was wrong by like the look I was giving. And he was like, "I'm going to need you to fill out all this paperwork if you want him to stay in the room." And he's like, "Make sure you check all the boxes." And the only box that I did not check was, "If there are any damages done to this room, you will be solely responsible." I didn't check that box. And he grabbed it and he looked at it and he looked at me and he said, "Just make sure you sign it." So he knew something was up. I got him the hotel. I made sure he got on that bus the next morning and he was gone. And I was able to do it all on my own, which was badass. It took all day, but I was able to do it. Yeah. Yeah, it has. I've gained a lot of weight since then. I know, but that's like, you know, a thing. It's taken a toll on me, you know, to the point where I've lost control of myself and I've gained weight and it's something that I acknowledge, but it's what I'm going through. You lose yourself, you know? Yeah. So not everyone in my family knows, like, they know bits and pieces, really. I really haven't, you know, told my family a whole lot. It's a lot for them to handle, you know. I kind of dropped it on my one uncle, because I thought he knew. And then I kind of was like, "Oh, well, this is what happened." And he was like, "That was a lot for 5 seconds." I said, "Well, it's been a lot for me for 8 months now." So, you know, but, you know, not a lot of people know. And, you know, not a lot of people at my work really know what happened because it's pretty embarrassing. A lot of them told me that I was going to walk into a trap. You're going to be catfished. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get yourself killed. And I was like, "It's not going to happen. That wouldn't happen. Why would that happen to me? It would never happen to me. You know, you're crazy. Why would you even say something like that? You're going to get yourself thrown into a dungeon." No, I'm not. And that's exactly what I did. I walked right into a trap. And you know, they all were right. So I really haven't told them anything because, you know, and it's, you know, some people have made it, I mean, you know, they just make these comments and joke about it, but they don't really know what happened. And I kind of just laugh about it because what do you do? You know, what do you say? You know, so not a lot of people know, you know, I really haven't told anyone. I haven't come out really and told anyone, just because it's kind of heavy and it's very embarrassing for me because just because of the fact that I was told that this was going to happen and I was so naive and I didn't think it was going to happen. I mean, I thought when I was going to Arizona that I was going to meet someone who like truly had good intentions for me, and that was not even close to what happened. I know. I think people just need to know and understand, you know, because they don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, he definitely has a type and seeks out the same type of woman. That you're not alone. I felt alone for a long time, for months, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know what to say, and I was kind of in denial of like things that had happened to me, and I didn't want to do anything, and I still get caught up in that moment sometimes, and Holly has to remind me that, you know, we're in this together, and there is a reason as to why everything's happening like how it is, and, you know, I didn't think I had anyone, and just that simple message changed everything, you know. That one mindset in my mind flipped, and I was able to send her a message and that led into a 4-hour conversation, which led into creating, look at where we are right now. It started with a conversation, and it's just blown up since then. And it's wild to me to think that, where our conversation started is where we are now. And look at all these beautiful women we found. I feel like I'm helping other women feel validated and heard and seen. And that's important to me. And it's important for my mental health. I feel like talking about what's happened is, this is my 3rd time really talking about it. So I feel like it's gotten a little bit easier. More women to come forward so we can help them. I think at this point, it's about helping and saving women, and not just women, men. And it doesn't matter who you are. You can be a victim of assault and rape in any gender. That's not the main objective here. The main objective is caring for people and saving people and doing what's right, Yeah, but I think now it's all about inspiring women to believe in themselves to the point where they can come out and come forward with what has happened with them. We want women to know that they are not alone, because when I was alone and I felt I was in a very dark time and I had no one, I decided just to go for it and send that message, to talk to that person, to hopefully try and help them and save them. And, we've come a long way since then. So I'm hoping that it can inspire women to just not be silenced, because that's what a narcissist will do. A narcissist will silence you and gaslight you and manipulate you and make you think that you're crazy, And I sat back and didn't say anything for months, because he told me that he was going to have people come after me, and I have a huge following on Instagram and Facebook, is what he told me. All my followers will come after you, and I will tell people about you, and it will put a bad name out for you, And I believed him for a few months, That's why I didn't do anything. And finally I was just like, I don't believe that he is going to do that. So yeah. No, I feel like one thing that needs to be, and it's not with our conversation, but like you brought this up, the trauma of what and what it does to someone's mental state, what it does to a victim, because I feel like I struggle with that a lot. I feel like ever since this happened, I've lost myself again. And I lost myself when my ex left me. I lost myself, and I, almost died 3 times. It's pretty scary. But I was starting to find myself again, and then I lost myself even more. So
next week, we will hear from Tatum. Fortunately, she was not sexually assaulted, but she was still victimized by the same person, and she very well could have ended up in that situation.
We also will be giving everyone a small training on sexual assault awareness. We want to thank everyone for their stories and bravery and recalling all of these events with this assailant. We understand how heartbreaking and rough this topic can be, but we want to give an extra appreciation shout out to you, the listener, for bearing with us and learning about all of this right along with us. Thank you so much.
This completes part 3 of this multi-part series. We thank everyone for their participation in this, whether they are interviewed or reenacting or even just listening. Please be vigilant.
Thank you for listening to a Nefarious Nightmare podcast. Music used in this podcast was originally composed by Ghost Stories Incorporated and remixed by Ryan RCX Murphy. Please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or on any podcast platform that accepts ratings and reviews. Thank you very much for listening, and as always, don't be a dick and wear deodorant.